Talk Talk. Yeah, we keeping it smooth. Your favorite paralegal got the legal groove. From the stars in the courtroom to your cousin's case, we breaking it all down. No rush, just pace. What's good, fam? It's your girl, your favorite paralegal, aka Cassandra, and welcome to Legal Doc Talk. So, we have been on our little inside the Collin County District Attorney's Office little saga, and I have been presenting to you guys the lawsuit that was filed against District Attorney Greg Willis and Bill Worski. I'm sorry, along with other notable people in Collin County, such as the commissioner's office, the individual over HR department. A lot of seems like a lot of corruption was going on in there, but we've covered already two parts of this. This is the third part. But before we get into that, please hit the like button and share this video. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do so. That way, if I go live or if I put out another video, you'll have notification of those things. But without further ado, let's get back into this lawsuit. So we left off yesterday in regards to another anonymous letter that was submitted. In August of 2021, the third of the anonymous letters appeared detailing misconduct in the DA's office. Defendant Worski deeply resented Ms. Fallon and took deliberate actions to harm her career even after her resignation. Part of defendant Worski's persistent rage towards Miss Fallon stemmed from his belief that she was the author of one of the anonymous letters that described his abusive workplace conduct. In a courtroom dock setting, defendant Worski expressly accused her of having written such a document. He made this accusation in a room full of prosecutors and defense attorneys who were colleagues of hers. To make ends meet after leaving the district attorney's office, Ms. Fallon became certified to teach class for probationers, substance abuse, and anger management evaluations. Subsequent to her certification, Ms. Fallon learned the DA's office was refusing to accept probationers' classes taught by her, thus backlisting her from income opportunities. Upon further inquiry, Ms. Fallon discovered that the DA's office will accept an unapproved internet class, but not a class taught by her. The ostracizing was without justification or any merit based reason. Ms. Fallon's enrollments have gone down considerably because the defense bar understands that the DA's office will not accept the probationer's credits, and thus it's pointless for their clients to enroll in class taught by Ms. Fallon. It is clear that defendants Willis, Worski, and the Collin County have retaliated against and harmed Ms. Fallon for reasons that include her for being a female and won't imbibe with her male boss, defendant Worski, for her candid report to HR about harassment and discrimination in the DA's office, and for defendant Worski's belief that she was the author of a letter that described the abusive environment that defendants Willis and Worski gender and exploited. You know, they, because of their office, their position in that office, they held so much power. As you can see, this lady left the office, started teaching classes, and so not only did that hinder Miss Fallon from making a living, but then you have to think about the people who took the class, paid for it, and now you're telling me it's not going to be accepted. So now they have to pay for another class. That's crazy. The August 2nd, 2021 anonymous letter, the third, is addressed to First Assistant Bill Worski and CC the District Attorney Greg Willis, Collin County Judge Chris Hill, members of the Commissioner's Court, and the Collin County Human Resources Department. The letter describes that the author has been told that the "get wet and stay wet" remark, how defendant Worski refers to prosecutors as mother uckers, how defendant Worski referred to a prosecutor as a whore in a whorehouse, and that defendant Worski ordered employees to excommunicate former employees by saying, "Don't associate with those people who leave," which the author identified to be emotional abuse. The letter describes that defendant Worski accused two prosecutors of having an affair, yelling in the office, "Are you two fucking?" The letter described a hostile work environment whereby female employees were only allowed to say good morning to defendants Worski and Willis, disallowing any further communication aside from this. The letter describes defendant Worski saying, "Who fucking raised you?" to a female attorney who he had accused of speaking out against the office. Routine humiliation is described through the Peter principle, as the letter outlines, wherein a prosecutor forgot to file a motion during a trial and was subsequently oh my gosh, humiliated publicly and openly in a division meeting well after the event, resulting in an emotional abusive work environment. The letter describes defendant Worski saying, "We don't have policies, we have tendencies." The third letter proceeds on page 2 to describe a time when a female prosecutor wore a scarf to work. She was ordered by defendant Worski to remove it because he said it looked like she had a hickey on her neck and that she was trying to cover it up. The letter describes that he ordered the prosecutor to never wear a scarf again. The third letter further describes a culture of coerced silence and oppression, and describes how female attorneys were told to change their personalities, remain unnoticed, and be less vocal, and ordered to be silent during meetings. The third letter describes defendant Worski calling female prosecutors names such as bitches, sluts, whores, and gossips, while demanding that female prosecutors only wear skirt suits rather than pantsuits. The author describes that defendant Worski sends women from the office to a convenience store to get a drink from him for him when he's thirsty, and states that defendant Worski demoted a female employee for posting her own private social media what she deemed cute to wear to work. The letter goes on to describe that when an employee considers leaving due to the above noted situations, or perhaps just to find a better job, a better suiting job for that individual person, the employee is demoted to auxiliary court as punishment, humiliating and emotional abuse. Finally, the letter describes that a female employee was a member of Working Moms Group, and that when defendant Worski found out that she had reached out for support, she was forced to make a decision in one day to quit the group or quit her job. The third letter closes by saying, "To all who have been CC'd on this letter, the above 19 statements are just the ones I have heard about. I implore you to understand that if you were to reach out to folks in the office about these situations, you will find perhaps many different reactions. There are employees who need their job and or will be afraid to say anything for fear of losing their job or retaliation by the organization. And also, just because you may see some employees smiling or laughing in the hallway, that does not mean these things aren't happening. There will be some employees who will be relieved that someone finally spoke up on their behalf as they were going to work after day feeling these terrible pressures and having to be subjected to your behavior. Either way, you have an opportunity for growth right in front of you. Change needs to happen and happen now. There is no room for behaviors such as these, Mr. Worski, especially in a position of authority such as yours. As stated before, some of these bullying and sexual harassment situations have already been reported, but the treatment continues to exist. The letter is signed a concerned citizen of Collin County. Another letter dated August 2021 is addressed to DA Willis, Collin County Commissioners, district judges, county judges, and the Collin County Human Resources Department. This letter begins by saying, "Why has nothing changed at the Collin County DEA's office in almost 2 years? What will it take for someone to stop the bullying, sexual, and emotional harassment that has been occurring over the years? Who is in leadership position should be held accountable for the barbaric conditions that the ADAs work under today. You are all complicit in atrocities, yeah, that are occurring within your sphere of influence." Attached are letters sent to Greg Willis, commissioners in 2019, in October of 2019, and the recent letters that have resurfaced. ADAs, current and former, are still terrified of the power of influence that Bill Worski and Greg Willis holds over them. The next step is to send the entire package of information to all television stations in Dallas area to expose the environment in Collin County. The letter is signed "A Concerned Citizen." Excerpts from the fourth anonymous letter, dated August 12th, 2021, are set forth below. Oh, friend, I love this. You did this. She did get on this petition. Anonymous email sent to all Collin County judges on August 12th. And you know what the crazy part is, y'all? Is that Greg Willis' wife, Judge Jill Willis, out of the 429th Judicial District Court in Collin County, also received this email. I am so nervous writing this email because I am a current Collin County prosecutor. I want to address the rumors that have been going around about my office and Bill Worski. I can say from personal experience that these rumors are true. While I am terrified of doing this, I have to speak out for myself and the incredible team I work with. I hope that by bringing awareness to this issue, something can be done. Most of us feel helpless because of the environment we work in. There are no internal avenues to get help, and most of us have bills to pay and or families to support, so we can't just up and leave. I envy those who've had the courage to forge their own paths, but for me, this is too much at stake in my personal life. Also, I love the work I do, and I don't want to be run out of the office, in Worski's words. Feelings of being trapped have been expressed by many coworkers in the office. Therefore, I have no other choice but to remain at the CCDA's office where we are mistreated, verbally abused, and made to feel worthless. It is hard to it is hard to come to work every day to be treated like a child. Worski always tells us, "You motherfuckers don't know shit," or "find an adult." Like we can't handle the job. I didn't go to law school for 3 years, accumulate a mountain of debt, and suffer through the bar to be treated like this in the workplace. My team is filled with incredible, smart, ambitious people, but we are torn down by our leaders. At first, I thought the mistreatment was like hazing, tear you down to build you back up again, but after being torn down, I have yet to be built back up. Or I thought once I got out of a misdemeanor, conditions would improve, but no such luck. It has started to weigh on my mental, emotional, and physical health. Working here has made me lose all confidence in myself, and I know many of my coworkers feel the same. In regards to the other letters that have been circulated, I can say that I have personally seen or been made aware of almost everything in those. I don't want to rehash all of the accusations in those, but I know that those situations were real and had a big impact on the people that remain in this office. We are ruled with fear, something I wish would change. I don't know what can be done to help us. I hate to call for someone to run for DA that would be committed to improving the office culture, but I don't know what other option we have. It seems like as long as Worski is running the show, Nothing will change. Thank you for your time and please help if you can. Now, this letter was sent to all the judges. Are y'all hearing me? All the judges, even Jill. It was sent to the Honorable Judge Jill Willis about her husband. A fifth anonymous letter, which was also sent during August 2021, begins to anyone who cares about restoring the integrity of Collin County and describes how Bill Worski treats his subordinates. I'm sorry, let me see. Oh, yeah, subordinates, particularly female prosecutors. The letter says that the trouble started long before Bill Worski arrived. Greg Willis, the current Collin County District Attorney, is part of the problem. The fifth letter continues to describe solo meetings with defendant Willis, where he asked personal questions and said the grooming started with the basics before he dove right into inappropriate questions, such as inquiring of a female prosecutor's the reason for her divorce. The author described the meeting with defendant Willis was not optional and that the prosecutor could not afford to quit or get fired. So she answered the question vaguely instead of refusing to answer his harassing question. The author describes in the next paragraph an instance where the DA intruded her to role play. She had to pretend that she was him and he pretended that he was her. Then he switched places with her by placing his hands on her biceps, then physically turning her around. He then asked the prosecutor what she wanted him to call her. Uncomfortable with his sexual innuendos, she asked him what he meant. He provided a couple of options: DA, answered her last name, or Madam DA. Even though she didn't want to participate in his game, nor did she want him touching her, she felt trapped. After his monologue, he commented that she looked skinny and then dismissed her to go eat lunch. On August 26, 2021, a sixth anonymous letter surfaced at 11:56 a.m. Baby, she put everybody. That says attention Collin County. Whew. A prosecutor is supposed to stand up for victims, protect those who cannot protect themselves, and be a voice for the voiceless. Working at Collin County DA's office under Greg Willis and Bill Worski, I lost my voice. I lost it because it was strangled from me. This letter is 4 pages long and, specific, going so far as it lists names of prosecutors who have knowledge of the abuse. Although these letters is anonymous, it is not short on information, including specific leads that recipients could have followed up with for investigation, as noted on the email, as well as the commissioners who are also addressed. The defendants received this communication yet failed to act in any reasonable manner to address it. The sixth letter repeats, as other letters have, that defendant Willis received notice of the sexually harassing and abusive environment at the DA's office in October 2019. Willis has been told many times to his face and in written form about the verbal abuse and the sexual harassment foisted upon his staff by Worski, but Willis refuses to act. Willis was sent a letter in late 2019, a copy of which was also mailed to every county commissioner, that detailed the abuse, and toxic work environment at the DA's office, yet zero action was taken. It continues. The citizens of Collin County have elected a district attorney who leaves his employees to be victimized by his first assistant because he refuses to act on information given to him over and over again. The sixth letter represents that letters have been sent to district court judges, the media, and others in Collin County. but highlights that incidents mentioned thus far do not detail of the abuses. There are more, as described in the August 26th letter. Hopefully, y'all can see that. At one Friday meeting, where prosecutors are regularly railed at, Worski yelled in a room full of prosecutors that opening statements were not like fucking a woman. There's no need for foreplay. Now, this is crazy because everybody is saying the same thing. Also, during meetings, Worski has speculated who a secretary has been sleeping with and had discussed blowjobs. Worski told a prosecutor that they would not be allowed to attend a training because they gave birth that year. He has told a prosecutor that while he can't tell her not to take her accrued vacation time, she should think very hard before using any. During a misdemeanor meeting, Worski has collected the prosecutor's phone so they cannot record what he's about to say, and then proceeds to scream at them and call them mother uckers. He forced the prosecutor to choose between shutting down a non-job related social media profile or getting fired. Prosecutors are told that if they don't like what's going on, they can tell HR because he, Worski, doesn't give a fuck. Prosecutors know, however, that if they go to HR, they will be let go immediately. He has held meetings with the chief prosecutors where he discusses which prosecutors are fuckable. He tells prosecutors not to associate with or socialize in person or social media or with those not in favor of those prosecutors who have left the office. Worski has driven prosecutors in his vehicle after drinking heavily. Prosecutors are also told to prioritize the job over everything else. If he then goes on to say, I know it's harder for moms, but too bad, make it work. Worski told a female prosecutor not to wear her engagement ring in court. Wors- Worski repeatedly screams fuck at the prosecutor and around them. Being screamed at by a 6'5" man is frightening and uncomfortable. Worski helped Worski, boy, just saying his name time and time again, helped plan a male only prosecutor weekend together. Women were not allowed or invited. He told a prosecutor about to go on maternity leave. If she was really dedicated to her job, she wouldn't take all her maternity leave. Female prosecutors were asked if they felt as if Worski and another felony chief were sexist and acted in demeaning ways to them. They were they was no there was a consensus, sorry, there was a consensus that they did act this way. Worski expects you to come into the office for hours on the weekend and wants you to know when you were there. Prosecutors often make sure the chief knows that they are at the office on the weekend so they will get credit and not be degraded the next week. These hours are unpaid and viewed by prosecutors as mandatory. Worski yelled at a female prosecutor until she cried. Prosecutors were told to hook up, not down, when Worski was discussing who people should sleep with at the annual TDCAA conference. Worski has demoted prosecutors for actions such as blocking him on Twitter and rolling their eyes. Prosecutors regularly have to seek therapy to deal with the abuse and harassment from Worski. The letter continues, also responsible for letting a toxic work environment take hold is the Collin County HR department. There have been multiple exit reviews where they have been told in detail about the abuse suffered by those leaving the office. They have left employees in a toxic environment. If they have acted, it is unknown to those still working at the DA's office, and there has been no change in acted. The letter describes the power and control dynamics in the abusive DA's office. The author describes an employee of DA's office as being akin to a domestic violence victim. The letter also describes the retaliatory environment and what will happen outside the four walls of the DA's office if a victim is to outcry to someone outside the system. He, Worski, knows exactly who to say these things in front of, who will back him because they owe him, and how far he can push a prosecutor because with one phone call or email, he can ensure they don't get hired anywhere. Worski tells prosecutors when they hand in their resignation letter that as long as they don't badmouth the office, then he won't badmouth them. Keeping one hands clean and projecting a positive public persona while causing irreparable psychological damage is the hallmark of an abuser. The letter closes with the sentence, "All we ask is that injustice is answered with justice." Jane Doe 2 intended to resign before the August anonymous letters were transmitted to the DA's office, commissioners, court members, news agencies, judges, neighboring district attorneys. After wide circulation of the August 2021 anonymous letters had occurred, Defendant Willis gave lip service to cleaning house. He gave Jane Doe, he gave Jane Doe 2 hope that she could assist him in navigating the damage because by these revelations and make positive workplace changes. Defendant Willis talked her out of resigning under the pretense of presenting her with the opportunity to do crisis management PR. Defendant Willis acknowledged to Jane Doe 2 that the allegations were concerning and needed to be addressed. Although he acknowledged the letters, Defendant Willis did not conduct nor commission any independent investigation. He made no personnel changes in response to the letters, nor did he remove Defendant Worski from his post. Defendant Willis did not modify his own inappropriate behavior or take any affirmative and effective steps to modify Worski's. Defendant Willis and Worski were very focused on trying to root out who wrote the anonymous letters, but disinterested in making any personal behavioral or workplace cultural changes in response to them. Eventually, Jane Doe 2 resigned for similar reasons as Ms. Fallon, which include sexual harassment and the toxic, discriminatory environment towards her and other women in the workplace. Defendant Willis asked Jane Doe to remain. Defendant Willis asked Jane Doe 2 to remain publicly vague about her reason for leaving, that she was merely unhappy. Jane Doe 2 told him exactly why she was leaving, but he did not have any interest in remediating the real problems of harassment and discrimination he committed, fostered, and helped make pervasive. Collin County commissioners exhibit conscious disregard for the issues described by the anonymous letters. Commissioner Darrell Hale responded as follows to the letter number 6 about titled "The Toxic Environment at the Collin County's DA Office." So let's see what his response was. Yeah, so when you put attention Collin County, that's everybody that works in the district. Everybody. At 2:43 p.m. on August 26, 2021, less than 3 hours after the original email was sent, Commissioner Susan Fletcher fired back a response from her iPhone and from her county email address with her official county signature line apparent in the reply. In her reply, she states, let's see. So that's where he sent that at 11:52. Then Commissioner Susan Fletcher responded. Let's see what she said. "I take issue with the author that they claim a letter with similar concerns was mailed to every county commissioner in late 2019. As the author points out, no one has actually made any formal complaints that can be properly investigated. Knowing this, exactly how is our HR department or DA Willis supposed to address these anonymous accusations? I would assume that professional prosecutors would understand the importance of a credible witness who's willing to go on the record, or at least the importance of verifiable evidence. There are laws to protect employees, and there is accountability. Of course, if there is any truth to these allegations, I would certainly never want it to be ignored. But the anonymous nature of this information has all the hallmarks of a disgruntled employee or former employee seeking revenge. It is more than that. Please come forward for the sake of all victims. Without the ability to properly investigate these claims, there is little that can be done from an official standpoint besides asking questions, which I have already done. To date, there is nothing actionable without identifiable victim or witness, as it's all based on anonymous claims. To the author of this email, my door has always been open, and I would never want any of our employees to be harassed or mistreated in any way. I literally didn't know anything of this until I received a request for information last week. My mobile number is below. My door remains open, and I will listen. Mm. In her email, defendant Fletcher claimed to have investigated the misconduct described in the anonymous letters. Yet she's also indicated an unwillingness to use any real effort to conduct an investigation, or rhetorically asking exactly how is our HR department or DA Willis supposed to address these anonymous accusations? Obviously, she and other commissioners could have personally interviewed or retained a trained professional to interview female prosecutors and female investigators on a confidential basis to discern if they knew whether what was described in the anonymous letters was accurate, plausible, and or a shared experience. She could have also interviewed defendants Willis and Worski to obtain an assessment of what factual accounts appeared to align among those interviewed and where they didn't. Defendant Fletcher could have performed at least a, modicum of effective due diligence rather than simply dismiss the anonymous letters that describe discriminatory, harassing, abusive, reprehensible conduct at the highest levels of the DA's office as merely the gripe of a disgruntled employee. She did none of those things. Kim Prickle is the chief investigator in the DA's office. She wouldn't have had she wouldn't have been hard for commissioners to find for an interview to see what she knew and what she had experienced. Defendant Hale also did nothing, as it took him only 10 minutes to respond to an anguish expressed by the writer of the August 22nd, 2021 letter by dismissing the whole matter as not his problem. The plaintiffs and others like them in the DA's office had nowhere to turn for help. Knowing they would be retaliated against by defendant Willis and Worski, ignored by the feckless HR department, and disregarded by a commissioner's court that made it unmistakably clear they didn't care. Here is the equal employment opportunity. We are, and this is what it states in the Collin County Manual. We are an equal opportunity employer. Personal matters generally are determined on the basis of merit, qualification, and competence. This will not be influenced adversely by race, color, religion, sex, age, national origin, ancestry, veteran status, or physical or mental disability, except where physical or mental fitness is valid occupational qualification. Further, in the handbook, it prohibits harassment of any kind. I mean, it says it right here. It says it right here. And I think I've already, yeah, we've already read this. It's in the manual. Sexual harassment is also prohibited by not only the laws of the United States, but also Collin County. So you sending these letters to the county and the county isn't doing anything. And I hope it is 2026. I just hope that it's not continuing in that office. The plaintiff were deceived by defendants into believing that the defendants would follow the law and their own written mandates to provide a safe workplace. In April 2022, several plaintiffs reported horrific abuses by defendant Willis and Worski to human resources. Doing so changed nothing other than to intensify their mistreatment by Willis and Worski. Collin County leadership and human resources deemed defendant Willis to be untouchable for workplace sexual misconduct and illegal retaliation, while the first assistant is permitted to continue with impunity to refer to women in the workplace and in their presence as bitches, sluts, and whores while publicly imploring them to get wet and stay wet. In early 2022, after it had become clear she would never succumb to his sexual advances, defendant Willis retaliated against Chief Pickrell, claiming she spoke ill of him to other investigators. This perception caused his mood and temperament to become erratic, and on February 22nd, 2022, he berated her in a closed door meeting and told her expressly that he did not like her and did not like speaking with her because she had bad mouthed him to other employees in the office. Chief Pickrell did not know what he was referring to and had not spoken ill of him to other investigators. After scolding Chief Pickwell, he told her that if she could learn from this experience, they could perhaps be closer than ever before. From many past interactions, Chief Pickrell understood him clearly. If she was to see to his romantic advances and remain loyal to him by keeping silent about these matters, her career would prosper. And if she didn't, she would be marginalized by him. On March 31st, 2022, defendant Willis took action to make good on his threat. He entered Chief Pickrell's office and sternly told her that he was not going to promote one of her investigators into position he previously told her he would. Defendant Willis was punishing Chief Pickrell's, can't believe I'm messing up her name, been saying it all for the past two videos, subordinate because he was upset with the chief. His tone then shifted, and wistfully he added that, wow, Chief Pickrell always looks good. So he's back on his BS. Chief Pickrell, at wit's end after years of sexual harassment and manipulation, went to the Human Resources Department to report defendant Willis on April 6, 2022. I'm sorry. I've been doing this all day. After Chief Pickrell shared her traumatizing accounts of events, Human Resources asked her to come back the next day, April 7th, to repeat it all over again with Director Cynthia Jacobson in attendance. On April 7th, Chief Pickrell, Deputy Chief Hensley, and Jane Doe 1 went to the Human Resources together and described what they experienced through their interactions with defendant Willis. In the April 7, 2022 meeting, Human Resources told Chief Pickrell, Deputy Chief Hensley, and Jane Doe 1, that the DA is untouchable and that there is nothing that Human Resources can do to make the harassment stop or to protect them. In fact, at several points in the conversation with Human Resources, Cynthia Jacobson said, let's be honest, he's the DA and nothing's going to happen to him. Jacobson briefly mentioned that they could make a report to the EEOC. Ms. Jacobson said that Willis is the DA and you can go after him civilly, but from the HR standpoint, he's untouchable. In response to Cynthia Jacobson's statement that the DA isn't untouchable, Deputy Chief Hensley correctly pointed out that the Collin County Handbook, as well as the District Attorney Policy Manual, require him to report sexual harassment and protect him from retaliation for doing so. The Collin County Handbook and the District Attorney Policy Manual specifically protect those who report sexual harassment, regardless of who they are reporting. There is no exception for the district attorney or anyone else. There was never any allegations that the plaintiffs were falsifying their reports or information. Indeed, some of what Deputy Chief Hensley reported on behalf of Sheriff Pickrell was consistent with similar manner and means employed by defendant Willis towards others. One of the August letters describes defendant Willis's inappropriate inquiries about the employee's personal life in addition to the unwanted hugs described by plaintiffs. The moaning and rubbing of the lower back are consistent across the accounts to human resources, as are the comments about women's bodies and descriptions of defendant Willis's sexual harassment in the workforce and the closed door belittling sessions. In the April 7th HR meeting, Erica Johnson confirmed that she was not surprised by the allegations and that prior complaint, had not followed through after their complaints. Y'all see this? So Erica Johnson confirmed that there were prior allegations that were never followed through. She said it was too hard and that they gave up. Once Human Resources dismissed Chief Pickrell, Deputy Chief Hensley, and Jane Doe 1, they went back to the DA's office. Chief Pickrell and Deputy Chief Hensley, and remember, Hensley told Pickrell to knock on a wall if if he needs to bail her out. So both of them informed defendant Worski that they reported the DA's sexual harassment to HR that day. And see, here's the thing in reading this. So you got stuff that's going on in Greg Willis' office, then you have stuff that's going on in Bill Worski's office. And they don't know what's going on. They don't know about the tyrants that Bill Worski was on. And he's probably still on today. Upon learning of this report, defendant Worski sighed loudly, put his head on his desk, apologized, and asked, "Are there more than 10?" Defendant Worski was clearly unsurprised to learn of defendant Willis's pattern and practice of sexual harassment. Concerned about reports of his own conduct, defendant Worski asked whether the issue of the anonymous letters had come up. What? The very next day, on or about April 8th, defendant Hill attended a closed door meeting with District Attorney Greg Willis at the DA's office, at his office. On the following Monday, April 11, 2022, defendant Worski asked for a meeting with Chief Pickrell and Deputy Chief Hensley. He asked them to conceal the fact that they had been to Human Resources and to not tell anyone else in the office about the report. Chief Pickrell told Worski that she already told co-workers Kim Leister and Evelyn Rutherford. Defendant Worski was angry and became angrier during this meeting. His temperament had changed considerably since April 7th. Whew. On May 9th, defendant Worski sent Chief Pickrell a meeting request. In that meeting, he stripped Chief Pickrell of her duties, oh my gosh, and responsibilities, including her supervision of the victim's assistant coordinators and the victim's assistant secretary, a total of 5 employees, and supervision of the secretarial staff, more than 20 employees. She was also stripped of the privilege of interviewing candidates for secretarial positions, the privilege of planning the Tree of Angels event, the privilege of organizing the annual crime victims luncheon, of being the supervisor of the VOCA grant, and of being the Foray project liaison for the office. Chief Prickle lost all of these responsibilities when defendant Worski retaliated against her because she reported it to Human Resources. Additionally, Defendant Worski changed the chain of command entirely, requiring the entire investigative staff to report to him and to their individual court chiefs. This had never been done before, as the investigators had always had a separate chain of command reporting to the chief investigator. The retaliation did not stop with Cheryl Pickrell. Chief Hensley was stripped of the entirety of his duties as deputy chief of the investigator chain of command. For years, he assisted Chief Pickrell in supervising the investigators at the DA's office. Yet on May 9th, Defendant Worski retaliated against him for reporting to Human Resources by assigning him to a regular felony court. Deputy Chief Hensley would now be working a trial court, which is effectively entry-level felony investigator work. Defendant Worski ordered Hensley to move his office immediately and assigned him to an office next to the women's restroom. In the process of moving his standing desk at Defendant Worski's demand, Hensley suffered a bicep tear for which he remains injured. What? The injury required surgery and the Deputy Chief Hensley to take workman's comp. Deputy Chief Hensley was stripped of many other duties as well, inherits in his former position as Deputy Chief. Defendant Worski did not stop retaliating against Chief Pickrell and Deputy Chief Hensley once he had levied these punishments. He next proceeded to concoct a paper trail whereby he misrepresented Chief Pickrell's work performance and chastised her for not performing duties that he already removed from her after he demoted her. He contrived reasons for why Chief Pickrell had lost responsibilities and began making false statements to Human Resources and in her performance review so that he could create the illusion that Chief Pickrell was something other than an exceptional employee. Chief Pickrell had an exceptional record during her tenure at the DA's office. It was only after the report of sexual harassment that Defendant Worski began to complain about her performance. Not only did Defendant Worski include these fabricated performances issues in Pickrell's official performance review, but he also disparaged and humiliated her during regular Tuesday meetings he uses to repeatedly demean her in person and in front of felony chiefs. Chief Pickrell rebutted Worski's inaccurate statements with proof provided to Human Resources, which remain in her file, complete with exhibits. Neither Chief Pickrell nor Deputy Chief Hensley had never been written up in their performance reviews prior to reporting the discrimination and harassment. While Deputy Chief Hensley was on workman's comp leave due to the injury he sustained as a result of Defendant Worski demanding that he move his office himself immediately during the demotion, Chief Pickrell was ordered by Worski to attend daily and weekly humiliating closed-door meetings with Worski and his chiefs. Human Resources knew Defendant Worski to be abusive. Neither Collin County Commissioners nor Human Resources did anything to help to protect Chief Pickrell nor Deputy Chief Hensley. As detailed above, Defendant Willis sexually harassed Miss Lay. I'm going to say, I think that's how you say her name, Miss Lay or Miss Lee. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. On many occasions. Once his advances and attempts were rebuffed, she was left to navigate the perfidy of Defendant Willis's office. On June 22nd, 2022, Miss Lay was called into Defendant Willis's office by Defendant Worski. Defendant Willis was present, as were some prosecutors, including a chief. They proceeded to interrogate Miss Lee on one might experience in a custodial interview, like she was a criminal suspect. Willis, Worski, and others were focused on why Chief Pickrell had been recently spotted in Miss Lee's office, and they collectively insisted upon knowing what Chief Pickrell and Miss Lee may have discussed. Miss Lay had no knowledge of why Prickle and Hensley were stripped of responsibilities and truthfully reported that fact to Willis, Worski, and the group. Even with the explanation, they continued to pressure Miss Lay to recount everything she had discussed with Chief Pickrell in Miss Lay's office. They persisted until Miss Lay told them accurately that Chief Pickrell and she had discussed hair conditioner and knee surgery. Satisfied that Miss Lay did not have any current intel she could report about Chief Pickrell, defendants urged her to be a mole for them on Chief Pickrell. They instructed Miss Lay to report any further contact with Chief Pickrell and to promptly relay to them the content of any conversations with the chief that she may ensue. She did not expressly consent to be the defendant's mole, but she did not refuse either for the fear of retaliation. She understood that if she agreed to being an informant for defendants, her employment would continue and she would be rewarded. She also understood the opposite to be true. Those who aren't loyal to the team are further harassed, demoted, and or fired. Ms. Lay remained vague to avoid further interrogation or reprisal. Defendant Willis subsequently said to Miss Lay, "I just want you to know how much I appreciate you," and heaped Miss Lay with praise. Miss Lay was suspicious of that praise as purely a veiled threat that she must corroborate and offer to a complicity that she could not refuse. After all, she had been previously been passed over for promotion on repeated occasions for reasons other than merit. Later that night, another prosecutor called Miss Lay while she was at home and told her that Willis and Worski were not entirely satisfied with Miss Lay's explanations earlier that day, and that defendants had asked the friend to be a mole for them on Miss Lay to get more information out of her. Just days later, Miss Lay received her first exemplary performance rating. Suddenly, she exceeded her performance objectives and received a pay raise. The quid pro quo that defendants intended could not be more obvious. She would be promoted and financially rewarded if she ceded to their demands to betray and retaliate against abuse and harassment victim Chief Pickerel and punish if she didn't. The defendants were betting they had brought her loyalty in this regard. This is wild. On Tuesday, July 28, 2022, in another meeting, Defendant Willis asked Ms. Lay what she thought about the previous meeting. Ms. Lay told him that she thought the meeting was inappropriate and unfair to her as a six-year prosecutor in the office. Defendant Willis told Ms. Lay that he was sorry she was being put in the middle of this without her consent. In reference to Chief Pickrell, Willis told Miss Lay, "Hell yes, I want her gone," but added that Chief Pickrell was in a protected class and that he could not fire her right before, right, wait, and that he could not fire her right after her report to Human Resources. He went on to provide context for Ms. Lay and said that the worst allegations that Human Resources told him about was that he had invited a female employee to his room at a conference and that she declined. He asked her again and that she declined again. Willis defended himself, not denying the allegations, but instead told Ms. Lay that he had not fired or demoted the employee. While he was flippant and dismissive with relaying the allegation to Miss Lay, he looked at Miss Lay inattentionally and a clear message when he looked her in the eye and said, "I never touched anyone." A statement which Miss Lay knew to be a lie, since she had been touched more than once by defendant Willis in a sexually harassing manner as described above. All right, so that ends part 3. Stay tuned for part 4.